Man, it's been fucking good to have you here this week, brother.
Man, hey, I know. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
as usual.
Has. You know, I remember back when we first met and we're hanging out. That was a time like I grew up a lot of my life, and a lot of your friends you just find based on proximity.
Right.
You know, it's like,
right.
oh, this is my homie because he's my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it doesn't necessarily mean that is a person who's like a kindred spirit.
Or
like
that you should be hanging out.
that should be your friend. Yeah. And then it takes a little while to actually, you know, put out enough energy that you start attracting similar kind of like-minded souls.
Right.
And I think Bodhi was one of those guys, and you were one of those guys that came early that ended pretty much a stretch where I was kind of like lonely as fuck up through 25, even through college. Like in college, I had homies. You know, I had my roommate Sam, and solid dude. Like, love that guy, but we weren't the same type of person.
Well, yeah, you weren't vibing on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I appreciate and loved all those friendships, but then it was dope because we met at a crazy Christmas party in the middle of the night. But like right off the bat,
don't say crazy. It was your crazy Christmas party. You acting like you was just there. You facilitated that.
It was, that was. I was in my fucking prime. Well, I don't know if I was doing it the best, but I was definitely doing it the most at that point.
You would. Well, probably both for Austin.
But yeah,
for
at
sure.
the time, we were pushing the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyways, you roll in, and despite whatever intoxication schedule we were on, we were both like, "Oh shit, this dude."
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah,
what's up?
Yeah.
And that's how it began.
It's a bromance.
It was from day one,
for sure.
And I think that's something that's an initial message that I just want to put out to people. Like, you may be in that position where you feel like you just haven't been met, you haven't been seen, maybe by your partners, but maybe by your friends.
Right.
But the key is just to put out that gravitational field, put out that message loud enough, and then fellow journeyers and travelers
beat that drum.
Will find you, and you'll know when you find them, and it'll just be like this, oh shit. And then you just got to keep in touch.
Yeah.
And then the shit will develop.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm happy we have. To your point, I felt the same way. Like I was always had good friends, had people I could connect with. Mostly it was people that I worked with, the people that I partied with, the people that shared similar interests, but they were never people that I connected with on a wavelength. So until my girl, and there's certain people in my life, I felt really lonely.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a common experience that a lot of us feel. I think social media has probably, in some ways, given more tools for that, but it's also driven more loneliness because you can put out that consistent message on social, and then it can start to attract people of a similar vibe just because people will find it a little bit better.
Right.
But then you still have to make that bridge between what's a digital relationship with an actual friendship, a real legit friendship.
And I mean, I think those things are easy to determine, except for the fact that I think everybody curates their lives.
Yeah, so they're putting out bullshit already.
Yeah, so you're almost like, I don't really know you. Like, I follow you, but like, you ever meet somebody you follow, you're like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
You're like, oh man, you using Facetune like a motherfucker. And and why are you crying in public? I thought you were happy.
Just a hot mess that's perfectly put together.
Super ghetto, 7 million followers. You're like, how did you get there? Oh, you didn't talk. Cool.
That's true too. True too.
Yeah.
But since that moment, what's been interesting is we've both been on a journey where we've been focusing on a lot of inward work. And that inward work has translated to a lot of external success, in a lot of ways. I mean, you were actually, you had a big kind of blip in your career where you kind of burst onto the scene with the True Blood season that kind of put you on some people's radars then. So you were already experiencing that. I had nothing at that point. I was still.
What are you talking about, dude? You were killing it. Or here's the thing.
Killing it, partying.
You were killing it in a lot of ways, and I think that I think what you learned was balance, right?
Yeah.
And you took that focus, because I had never seen anybody who had structured partying the way that you did. Like it was like responsible chaos. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, I remember standing in your kitchen, and you had these two big ass vials of pills.
Yeah.
And like one were like blue and
purple and white, and
orange and white. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell are these things, right? And you're like, well, for people who party, this is the recovery pill, and this is the one you take beforehand so you're not a hungover mess. And it's like, I'm thinking about starting this company, called On It. I'm like, that's cool, man. I was like, no one's gonna buy that shit. I actually thought it was a great idea from the onset. But You definitely had the fire. You've always had
and I was doing the internal work, but I think really the lesson here for both of us is, as we've done that internal work, as that famous quote from Hermes Trismegistus, as above, so below, as within, so without, as we've done that internal work, like everything externally has also continued to grow.
It does that.
It does that, right?
It does that.
I mean, and that's whenever we get together, it's largely less about talking about the external stuff. I mean, we'll talk about that, but it's like, what have you gone through externally? Like even when we were catching up outside by the fire. Right. I mean, we spent 90% of that time talking about the internal things that we've gone through, our internal achievements, how we've dealt with internal struggles, what medicines and plants we've used to help us deal with these internal struggles. Right. And then the outer manifestation is like, oh yeah, I got this thing going on and this thing's going on. I mean, but seems, that ain't the thing.
It seems less important. It seems like when I'm talking to you, and I'm very thankful and grateful that I have a brother in my life that I can talk to about my internal growth and the internal journey, because that's rare. It's just rare. Like with anybody, it's like you talk to most people, and it's always about what's going on in your life, and what they mean is, what are you working on?
Right.
What stresses are you even if they really care, it's what stresses are you overcoming? But it's not like, where are you? Like what space and time are you planting your feet in internally? And it's really, really good. I don't realize how much I missed that until you and I get a chance to actually just talk one-on-one sometimes. Yeah.
Because all the small talk is focused on internal. Oh, nice weather today. Completely outside of your control, completely inconsequential. Like, how's your internal weather, motherfucker?
Right.
Like, are you dealing with storms? Are you in a fucking tornado right now? Is it sunlight? Is it sunshine? What's your internal weather? You hot? You cold? You in the deep? You in the light? Yeah. Like, where you at? But
that's a great way of putting it.
And then what do? Well, who cares what you do? Like, who are you?
I don't even answer that question anymore.
Right.
Like, I think you saw it yesterday. Somebody goes, I was like, oh yeah, I'm his friend. Like, that's what you do for a living? I don't know, man, whatever. Like,
But it's hard to dive straight deep in, because there are those people who will meet you immediately and like, oh man, what is your greatest challenge? You'll be like, hey man, we got to get to know each other a little bit first.
I'll take it. Can I get almond milk in the latte, please?
Yeah.
Almond milk, okay. Greatest challenge is getting you to pour almond milk on my drink right now. Please do that. Yeah.
So it is a balance, but ultimately I think a lot of friends will still just stay on that external tip, where they'll just talk about these external stuff and not really focus on the deeper issues, and then help each other deal with those deeper issues.
And I think there's a paradigm shift happening. I think there's one coming, and I think that there's, that whole phrase, stay woke or woke, I mean, it's kind of annoying in a way, but I really like the fact that people are talking about the awakening, talking about waking up the soul. And I just found, as I get older and more mature, I just don't have time to talk about who won what. I don't care who won that game, and I don't care who did that over there, and I don't care what you do for a living, and I don't really care. Like, I don't care. I care if you like it.
Yep.
I care if it's making you feel fulfilled. I care about that. You want to talk about something that actually matters? Let's go all day. I'll talk to anybody about anything that matters. But you want to talk about what you had for lunch? I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't have the patience for it. I really don't.
Right. Yeah. It's just driving. Because once you realize that the internal is really everything. Like,
it's everything.
That you can be in heaven or hell at any given moment, and it doesn't matter what's happening externally. Like, both of us have been in situations where if someone took a video camera to us, they would look around and be like, heaven, naked girls, fucking sunshine, yacht, and we're just in our own internal shitstorm. Fucking bummed and sad and depressed, and we've also been in another situation that looks like, man, that looks like it sucks, but inside we're in our own fucking internal heaven.
Hurricane outside, but you're this sort of this peaceful sailor, just like steering your ship away from the rocks and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So what have been the tools, because your path has mimicked mine a lot, but what have been the tools that you really credit with being able to drive that internal change that allows you to control your internal environment?
That's a great question, man. Here's the thing too. I wish most interviews were like this. That's why I really don't do interviews anymore. I'm like, I don't want to talk about Kim Kardashian's baby. I'm sure it's a sweet baby, but I don't know.
She has a baby?
I don't know. God bless them, and I think they do have kids, and I hope they're well. Frankly, and really, I mean, really.
Yeah, of course.
But
Hope all kids are well, including
but they're not. So like
Yeah.
that's, you know, and I think that's one. I think one of the reasons that kids aren't well is because they're not focusing on what the truth is, which is the interior. And so like to your point, to your question, the things that have really helped me is a connection to source.
Yeah.
And continuing that connection to source. And no matter what you believe, we all know that we're part spiritual, part physical. We all know that. You might not accept it. You might not. You might fight it. You might ignore it, but it's there. And it's really been exploring that part of my being that has helped me achieve what I've achieved on the outside, and somebody looking at me saying, "Oh, that guy's really successful." It's only because I'm delving into the source and I'm having success on the inside that I'm having on the outside. Because I can have success on the outside and still be miserable, right? But the thing that keeps you going and creates longevity in happiness and in career success, I think, is really knowing who you are and fighting for who you are. And you can't do that unless you're willing to take that dive inside. And that's, to me, that's the work. That's the hardest part, right? Like the interior universe is so much more rewarding and difficult to navigate than the exterior universe, right? Like if you can figure out, fuck, when was the first time I felt let down?
Yeah.
When was the first time I felt insecure? When was the first time I felt disappointed? And if you can go to that 4-year-old self of yours and work through those issues in yourself, that meeting's nothing.
Yeah.
That audition is nothing. That period in business where, you know, a partnership doesn't work out, or a friendship is not working out, or a relationship is not working out, that's nothing compared to the relationship you're having with yourself. So that's the piece of advice that I would give people, is that this is really about who you are.
Right.
And figuring that out.
And that's not your identity, and that's not your story.
No.
You know, so many times people say who you are, and it's your personal story.
Right.
And that story can include actual biological, you know, biological facts, you know,
Right.
and that's like a steadier part of the story. And then there's all the things that happen to you, and then it's all the things that you've attached to that and all
Right.
that. But then you can also have the story of, oh, I'm a interdimensional being that's
Right.
currently alive inside
And
this
this meat
human
suit.
body. Yeah. And some shit happened to this human body.
Right.
Like it always does.
Right.
Shit is going to happen to the human body, and we're going to have to deal with that and overcome it. Right. But you change that point of identification to that, you know, part of you that is connected to source or the collective or God or whatever your vocabulary, you know, kind of finds. But what are so then how does, if someone's listening to that and being like, man, connect to source sounds great, I don't know how to do that shit. What do you tell that person?
Well, I tell that person that you actually already are connected.
Yep.
You have to just, it's more about the practice of quieting your mind, right? Mm-hmm. It's more about the practice of, some people use meditation. Some people need a near-death experience. Some people need a really bad breakup. Some people just need a shock to the system and the pattern, to where they're just, wait a second, what's happening, right?
It's almost like the external will provide it if you don't go looking for it yourself.
Right, because you are connected.
And that happened to you,
yeah,
in a certain degree as well.
Yeah,
like
no.
you sing about it in some of your songs. We'll get
Right.
into some of the music a little bit later, but like what happened? Like what was your near death? You had like 2 of them, right?
I had 2
on the same day or something.
Yeah. Well, 2 years apart, same day. Yeah. So May 20th, 2009, I'd already been hospitalized for a amoebic antimicrobial parasite, which is a water-based parasite that I got in North Africa.
Think Monsters Inside Me.
Yeah. What is that?
That's a show. That's
Okay.
a show.
All right, yeah,
That's a show where people
I know nothing about pop culture at all. Like,
that's a show where there's parasites.
I was
and then
like,
doctors can't figure it
there's a monster
out.
inside me. Yes, there is.
Doctors can't figure it out, and then they make a show about that.
Absolutely, just that. So I was. I think. I mean, it might have been 2 weeks. I was in the hospital. Off and on, I was in the hospital for about a month. But at this stretch, I think it was about 10 days, and they finally figured out that it wasn't cancer, that it wasn't everything else under the sun that they thought it was, because Western medicine is just, they take guesses and they start throwing darts, right? Fill with medicine.
Yeah.
So a lot of these darts were too strong for me. And there's 3 different parasite medications. And there's 3 different medications because most people are allergic to at least 1 or 2 of those. I happen to be the person who's allergic to 2. So with the amount of drugs in my system counteracting with that parasite medication, I had this really bad allergic reaction and the vitals got crushed and I went to the other side. And I actually, the craziest part is a good friend of mine who's in Paris right now, she just lost, Honey,
Mm-hmm.
she just lost her mom. And it's really hard. It's been really hard for her. And I was in the middle of the night last night. I couldn't sleep. And I've been avoiding this. And I actually told her the whole story because she needed to hear it.
Yeah.
About what happens when you cross over. And this is the first time I've actually ever done that. It was last night. And that's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. But then it also made me understand what place it held in my life, because it was like, there's this spiral of existence that starts to go down this drain away from you, sort of, in a way, including sound and vision and touch and feeling and everything that you equate with being alive, and everything you ever equated with being alive. It just starts to go in this little spiral, like almost like this geometrical shape. But to think of touch in a shape is weird, right?
Yeah.
But you can feel the touch, the sensation of being able to feel something leaving you. And there's this moment of intense fear. And then followed by the source connection going, no, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fight this one. And you're like, but, and then it's like, no, not this one. Don't fight this one. And it's this calming sort of voice that comes over. It's your voice. It's not your voice. It's your voice you used to have. It's the voice, and it's saying, "You're fine. It's just this is the sleep. This is the nap. Yeah. You're good. You're good." And then instantaneously, there's this feeling of pure bliss, of pure peace, of extreme comfort. There's nothing in this life. There's nothing in human form that you can compare this to. Nothing. Like, I've had great experiences in my life. I've had happiness and bliss and ecstasy in ways that most men would and humans wouldn't even think is real.
Yep.
It's nothing. It's nothing compared to going home. And what that did for me was make me understand that, okay, yeah, I'm here. Like, Mehcad's here. I'm here in this outfit. I'm wearing these clothes, and I got this jewelry. I got my parents. I have my girl. I have my life experiences. I have the patterns that I've formulated based on those experiences. But I'm also somewhere else all the time, and we forget that. We forgot that this is. I don't want to say it's a dress rehearsal because it's not, but this is the. And I don't even want to say it's a game because I don't think it is either. It's more like a projection of a part of our reality.
Yeah.
Right?
I likened it, and game is a funny word because it trivializes it.
Right.
But it is in a way, when you understand that destination of where you're going and the eternal infinite nature of that part of yourself, it becomes the greatest video game that you could ever imagine.
Right.
Like, if we were going to design the best video game, you'd be like, listen, the graphics are going to be fucking incredible.
You won't be able to tell them apart.
You're going to actually be the controller. You're going to feel everything you touch, everything you do. There's going to be massive multiplayer. You got like animals and humans and everything. It's going to be so dope. And when you die, you're going to think you died. Right. It's going to be so sick.
Right.
And you'll be like, fuck yeah, that game sounds awesome.
Great, cool.
Yeah, it's called life.
Yeah, it's called life. Yeah, let's play. But at the same time, it's almost like these graphics are nothing. These sounds are nothing. These feelings that are being, see, the problem is these feelings are being interpreted through the vessel that has created patterns based on these experiences that we have all had, right? It doesn't matter who you are. Even the masters have to go into the mountains and be alone to really experience what life actually feels like, without attaching it to a bad experience you had that this may trigger, right? So
Or even when it's a good experience. Think about a good experience that you're having where some part of you goes like, don't enjoy this too much because it's gonna get taken away from you. You know, like there's always that mental.
You're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, it's that mental process that always just sabotages you in both good and bad situations if you're not really conscious of what the mind is going to do.
And to that point, actually brings me to your initial question. Like, what was the catalyst for excuse me? What was the catalyst for me to turn over this new leaf, to be connected to Source? Was that I realized that every single thought I had was not mine. Wasn't mine. Wasn't mine. It was mine to experience. It was mine to engage with, but it wasn't mine to hold on to.
It was Mehcad's, but it wasn't yours.
It wasn't even Mehcad's. Check this out. Your thoughts come from the universe. Your imagination comes. You can't imagine anything outside of the universe. You can't. So everything that you're doing,
everybody just tried to imagine something outside of the universe,
and they failed miserably. They failed. Yeah, you're like the unicorn with the zebra leg. And wait, that's here. Okay, they got that. But I wouldn't even take ownership in a good or a bad way. That the thoughts are Mehcad's. Mm-hmm. They're just going through you. The universe does not stop and start at your skin. Doesn't stop and start at your brain. It's just going through you. And whatever thought you decide to grab onto and manifest, that's the truth. Whatever thought you decide to go, oh, no. Not the truth. Not yours. So there's this level of engagement that takes responsibility and energy and gravity and power that you can grab any thought you want and make that one yours. Or you can say, these are a bunch of thoughts that are just going to need to pass through because this is bullshit. And so I started to realize that more and more and more as the more I allowed myself to be connected to Source. And, then 2 years later to the day, May 20th, 2011, I had a car accident that put me into a coma for 3 days. And it was bad. It was bad. There's I'm not gonna lie. There's still some spots in my memory sometimes. Like I'll see somebody and I'm like, I know you. I don't know your name, but I know you. And you're gonna have to bear with me. What's your birthday again? Like there's names and dates. I'm like, you wanna talk about quantum physics? Got that. We can talk about quantum physics all day. But what's your name again? Right. So that happens every now and then. And that's hard to admit, but because I admit it, because I'm aware of it, I'm working on it, right? And I'm actively doing things to counteract that in the future. But there was this responsibility that I had in the aftermath of these events. Do I allow this to make me who I am? Or do I allow this to make me who I am?
Did it happen to you or for you?
Right. Perfectly put.
That's the question. Yeah. That's the question that we all have when this happens. And, so there's these external events that can happen. And certainly there were certain parts of you that needed to wake up to some truth.
And there's certain parts of me that needed to die.
And certain parts of you
to the lies that I've created.
And so the universe created actual death for you to do that. Now, the other option, if you don't want the universe to catastrophically create near death for you, is you can go out and you can pay attention for one, but you can also go out and seek it. And I think that's been my path of before the universe has to manifest that. And maybe the universe still will manifest that. I could walk out today. But
I don't see that on you.
Instead of having to do that, you go and you seek your death through, in my case, the plant medicines.
Right.
Like the very first time I did ayahuasca, I had to face my death, and everybody's heard the story, in as many ways as I could possibly imagine, and time again through all the different plants. You go through the dissolution of self, and then the actualization of who you are as your eternal self, your capital S self, or your soul, if your vocabulary will permit that. Right. And then you understand who you really are. Right. And that recalibrates everything. But that's like an essential part of waking up, is understanding that you are not who you think you are. You are a lot more than that.
No. Yeah, and once again, it goes back to the thoughts not being yours.
Yeah.
Those thoughts are based on your parents' fears. They're based on your childhood fears. And it's very interesting that we think, or we believe, we buy into the fact that, God, I'm the sum of the equation of all the shit that's happened to me. I am the man that 14-year-old kid, this experience that happened to this 14-year-old kid made. I am the man that this 25-year-old experienced, and that's why I am who I am. But what about the 65-year-old you who doesn't exist yet? What if you're him? What if you're also him? What if you're just as much as he is? Why can't you ask him for guidance? Why can't you ask for help? Why can't you put yourself on that path?
And you have. Tell us about that.
Fucker. Yeah. I'll preface it with this, because otherwise, if we just jump there, like, I know your audience is woke, but part of my process has been to incorporate my ego, not fight it, not push it. Osho has this theory that your ego is your Siamese twin, right? That you have this incredible life, this incredible existence inside of a womb as a fetus, and all you've ever known is this plentiful universe that everything is provided for you, right? Food is given to you. It's nutrients are brought into your body. You don't have to fucking masticate. It's amazing. Yeah. I think we'll do that again. Sound is muffled for you because you're not ready to hear it. Light is blocked for you because you're not ready to see it. Everything is taken care. And then all of a sudden, one day, contractions. And
chaos.
The only home you've ever known becomes chaotic, and something. It must feel like an earthquake. It must feel like the world is caving in. It must feel like death to you, and you're pushed out into this world where you feel cold. Imagine feeling cold for the first time. Cold sucks now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being cold for the first time? You're like, what the fuck is this? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh my God. And you know, like, everybody who's ever been caught in the winter without a jacket knows how fucked up that is. But what if it was the first time? What if it was the first time you saw lights and probably colors, or these colors, and the first time you heard sound unmuffled? So all of a sudden, Osho postulates that your personality breaks in two at that moment, and you have this psychological twin called the ego that goes, yo, Aubrey, I got this. Mm-hmm. All right, this is never gonna happen to you again. I got this. You let me lead. Let me swing this sword real quick, because that doctor just cut half your body off, smacked you in the face. This is bullshit. Like, you know, like, so sure. It's your friend, and then you grow up a little bit, and it's your imaginary friend. It's the person you're always talking to. You give it a name. All of a sudden, it becomes this protector, and this twin, and this friend, and all these different things. And then one day somebody goes, nah, that doesn't exist. You go, yeah, it does. And they go, no. And it's weird if you talk to them, and it's bad to listen to them. You're like, and as you get older, the entire world tells you that. The entire world keeps telling you that, keeps telling you that, keeps telling you that. But I guarantee you, 10,000 years ago, your dad wouldn't have told you that, because it would have saved you from a saber-toothed tiger. Mm-hmm. We've just built a world that we think that ego has no place in. So we belittle it, we try to destroy it, we try to do all these things. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm saying it didn't work for me.
It can't work. You can't be in this existence without an ego.
No.
You know, this is not the place for that. It's not a place for that type of existence.
No.
Like, we will go to another place
Yeah.
for that type of, we came from a place for that type of existence.
Right.
But in this case, anyone who's pretending that they can completely get rid of their ego is part of that same ego trap.
That's your ego talking.
That's your ego, yeah. That's your ego trying to claim superiority, which
right.
is the other game of the ego. It's to protect you from fear, but also to create dominance.
Right.
Dominance for mating advantage, dominance for social advantage, dominance for whatever. And you're just claiming dominance by changing the rules and saying, okay, the rules of the supreme person in this case, the dominant person is the person with the least ego, so I'm going to feign that I have the least ego. So the ego slipperily, identifies with something else.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of it.
No, and you can't.
But you just have to become aware of it.
Absolutely. And then the more I became aware of mine, in particular, I think I was in my, I don't know, 13th, 14th ayahuasca ceremony. And my ego was tripping me up a lot. It was just getting in the way. Like, it was Like I would do all this work to achieve something and then put my hands out to grab it. And my ego will, the fuck is, what, this is what we want, right? Like, it's like, and it just sort of sabotages you. and I got tired of that. And it was just sabotaging relationships, like with wonderful people, sabotaging certain things in my career, sabotaging things in my family. Like, even if I was trying to help, my ego was getting involved in my spirituality, right? It was being tricky in that regard. So I sat in my garage because I had people in the house, getting ready for the ceremony, like some crazy person. I sat in my garage and I talked to myself in my car, and I said, okay, I'm not getting out of this car until you tell me your name, to my ego. And I sat there, and my ego was like, you're crazy. I was like, you're not me. You're definitely not me, because you trip me up so much, and we fight, and we want different things. So who are you? You're not me. And finally it gave me a name. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I'd heard the name before. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I know that name. And that name felt ancient, and it felt entangled with my being. And I said, well, how long have we been together? I said, since the beginning of time. Okay. We haven't always been enemies, have we? I said, nope. I go, well, when do we work best together? And it gave me a response that I couldn't believe. It said, when you loved me. And I had this exhalation that I had never had in my life, like, yeah. You're just like everything else in the universe. You want attention, and you want love. You want to be noticed, and you want to be loved. And if you don't get that, you do what the ego does, and you swing your sword. Mm-hmm. And if I'm the one who's hurting you,
to prove it's worthy of love, right? By being the best in the world, by being perfect, by being dominant,
or tearing you down,
yeah,
right? and so I invited my ego to sit in that ceremony, and it was flattered and shocked, and I invited it to the next one, and it got rid of some things that were deeper in me, that it was holding back, that it was holding on to in a way that I didn't even realize it was holding on, right? It has its own gravitational pull. It has its own power. And it has the ability to hold on to memories that you thought you let go of. And I was like, oh shit, this is a whole other level. This is wait. And then like my higher self, if you want to call it that, was kind of like, so you guys are friends again. Almost like, not so much I've been waiting for this, but like, yeah, this is a good way to do it. This is a good way to do it. And so that's when people, I don't know, Christians talk about the Holy Trinity. I really think this is kind of what they mean. Like, there's the animal you, there's the you, mm-hmm. there's the higher self, and there's the ego. And I think you need all three of these things working together to really have stability in this chaos, the chaos of the inner self and the chaos of the outer self. You need to be loving your higher self and not comparing yourself to what that being would be if it took over your body. And God, what would that look like if your higher self, his name, if he took over? It'd be amazing, right? But you'd also be fucking bored. And like,
well, because your higher self, so your higher self, as I see it and feel it, is love, and it's just pure love and compassion and consciousness.
Yeah.
And that doesn't want to move or do anything.
No,
because it's complete. It has no lack.
It is a monk in the mountains.
It has no lack.
That showers 3 times a year.
In perfect peace. It has no compulsion to do shit.
Nothing.
And then, so the ego is that force that moves love, and that force that compels action.
Right.
Because an ego, in order to compel action, there has to be some kind of lack. There has to be something that you're striving for, some growth or some process. And I think a correctly aligned ego, the goal of that ego is to spread love farther. Because love sitting contentedly within itself without any lack, then isn't going to go out and help people. And that's this concept of the bodhisattva, someone who could retreat to purely their higher self and sit in compassion, love, nirvana. Or you could choose another path and say, I'm going to be the spiritual warrior that
Right.
carries this love out into the world and tries to make the biggest impact as possible. But I'm not fully ever going to be able to untangle that from the spoils of enjoyment that the ego will have from being successful. You know, you can't fully ever really remove that.
We don't live in that world.
It's not the place we are.
Yeah, and I mean, and I kind of think like if you were supposed to be in that existence, you would have been born in a fisherman village in India,
Or you would have just stayed home.
Yeah,
Just stayed home and not taken body. You know, I don't know exactly how that all works, but that certainly seems how it feels.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think the reason that we do play the game of life, we do take body, is that we do wear the meat outfit, right? Is that we're supposed to balance these three things out, right? We're not supposed to be purely spiritual.
And this is what gives us the game, right? I mean, if there wasn't a force inside us that says, I am not connected, I am not God, I am not love, then we would all just collapse back, collapse back to where we came from, and there would be no game. There has to be a force strong enough to say, no, I'm not that, I'm something else, in order for there to be the differentiation, for us to play the greatest video game that we could ever possibly play.
Absolutely. And in my experiences, when I found that, I showed that darker side, I showed that lower vibration, more love, it raised its behavior.
Yeah.
It brought itself up to my level. It was like, so I'm no longer in the outskirts. So I'm playing with you guys. Great. It was almost like that. It was like I threw the ball to it. And he goes, me? I was like, yeah, come play, man. And he's like, oh, thanks. Instead of waiting until something happens to you, and then he goes, yeah, my turn, right?
Yeah, it just takes control of the
Yeah, because
starship.
it's gonna play no matter what. It's gonna hop in that game no matter what. So you might as well be the coach and go, all right, your turn.
Yep.
You can be my shield or you can be my sword.
Yeah.
And it's almost like showing your ego so much love, it starts to become a tool for you rather than something that trips you up.
So, all right, I'm going to circle back to that first question that got us on this thing. I remember I was watching a speech from Matthew McConaughey, and he was talking about heroes.
Right.
And he goes, my
It's
hero.
the Oscar speech, right?
Yeah, he's like, my hero is me a year from now. My hero is me 5 years from now. Because we're all on this path where we can look back at our old self and be like, oh man, young Aubrey, young Mehcad. I get that motherfucker. He was doing some shit, but man, he was dumb in a lot of ways,
Yeah, he was smart for 25. I wouldn't hang out with that motherfucker.
But then I thought, when I was talking to you earlier, and you were talking about getting counsel now,
Right.
from an older version of yourself.
Right.
I think that was a cool thing that I think everybody could do. Like that's something that we could all try to do.
Yeah, and so I prefaced it with the ego conversation only because reverting back to your 12-year-old self or your 18-year-old self or your 25-year-old self is easy to do, but that's your ego sort of holding you back, right? So there's this other way where you can create a bridge. And first of all, let's be honest about it. That 14-year-old you is not in this dimension. It is the only bridge you have to it is your memories and your imagination. You're probably not even remembering the shit right. So it's really just your imagination, right? That's the bridge that you have to another dimension. So why is it a foreign concept that we can use that same tool, the imagination, to bridge a gap in the future? Makes total sense. Like if you can think, oh man, I had these patterns in my life because in my 20s this happened and this is what's probably going to happen now in the future. So you're actually creating that bridge into this future because of your past, right? You're reliving your past in the future. But if you were to say, this is my optimal self, this is who I want to be, and this is who I want to connect with. And in this infinite universe, there are an infinite number of 65-year-old Mehcad Brookses. Some of them are real assholes. Some of them are awesome. And I don't want to talk to the assholes. I don't want to talk to the ones I don't respect. I want to talk to the 65-year-old me who has optimized his entire life. And I asked him for help. I did some ceremonies in Colombia. My girl and I did some ceremonies in Colombia last December. And I asked Pachamama for some help in that, to help me bridge this gap into the future. And it gave me an age, and I was like, oh, okay. Gave me 2 ages, and I was like, okay, these that's interesting. And I started talking to the me 32 years from now, or I can't do math. I started talking to me like 27 years from now. And it started to have this, it was the same voice as the source. It was the same voice that I heard when I had the near-death experience, the same voices I heard during the coma. It's a voice that you always hear. And it's the loudest one. And so I just sort of took this principle of looking behind me, right? Like we live our lives. Most of us are looking behind ourselves. Or I like to think of it this way. We're walking forward into the future, holding a mirror in front of us.
Always looking back.
Right. So you're just like, yeah, I'm going in the direction that life is telling me to go. But look at all that shit behind me. This is crazy. Look at all this shit behind me. You're like,
you never see where you're going.
Put the fucking mirror down. Like, just put the mirror down. Look where you're going. And maybe you might see some shit that surprises you. You might see you over there. And you might go, hey, old me. And the old you's like, I'm happy you found out you could do this. The optimized version of yourself already knows all this. The optimized version of yourself 30 years from now definitely knows this. So I've been able to get counsel and mentorship and advice, not from the 14-year-old me who didn't know any better, not from the 20-year-old me who went through this, a lot of really hard things and looks at life in a certain way, and I'm not going to carry that on into my future. But I looked at the version of me who's gotten over all that shit, who's come out clean on the other side, who's achieved his dreams, and I go, how'd you do it? He goes, this way. And it's super easy. He's like, it's what we think it is. It's just more connection to the source. It's more honesty to yourself, and it's more love with the I am consciousness, with putting love into yourself, putting love into others, and putting love into the world. And constantly, every single day, when I'm making a decision, I hear that voice. And he's pretty nonchalant. He's like, you know, hey, I'm here. So there's an infinite number of 37-year-old Mehcads who you might be the right one. You might not be. I'm talking to all y'all. Yeah. Like, one of y'all gonna make it here. like the rest of y'all won't. So I hope it's you. Like, he doesn't care. It's actually kind of interesting. And it's like, it really does make sense when you tell somebody, okay, you're doing this based on your life, based on past experiences and patterns that you've created, which means you're looking behind yourself, right? Look ahead. Very simple. Just look ahead.
It's interesting. I just listened to a particle physicist on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about the many worlds hypothesis, and it really parlays well with this idea that there's many versions of yourself that you're carrying into the future. Like in quantum physics, when you observe, make the choice to observe and localize a particle on one side, like in that slit experiment, you put the camera with the observer effect, you observe it, and you localize that particle on one side, you're creating one version of a world. Right. And that world has the particle on that side. And then there's another world where it doesn't. And all of these choices we make, from the particles down to the whole being expressed, create a different world that exists. But simultaneously, in this kind of many worlds hypothesis, there's many different selves and there's many different outcomes, almost infinite different outcomes based upon the choices of those selves. And I've experienced something very similar in my own journeys, where I've seen it like I was moving across on a horizontal line, and there was all these little branching pathways that I could take. And it was just like these infinite branches. And some of them reached in, kind of my peak potential and peak consciousness, like pure soul, like pure actualizations of who I was expressed vertically. And so some of the branched pathways reached that vertical expression. And in that vertical expression, I was able to speak a note of truth so pure and so full of love that the whole world stopped for a second to listen. And that's like where I wanted to go, right? Yeah. But there was so many other different pathways where if I kept partying or kept making bad choices or got locked in the ego or random chance came and a lightning bolt struck or whatever happened, all of these little nubs would dead end and I wouldn't reach there. Right. But, connecting with that version of yourself in the future that has reached that level, and there could be many that reach slightly different versions of that level, but connecting with one of them, and then saying, hey, how'd you do it? I mean, it's a beautiful way to do it, and not dissimilar for those of you who listen to my podcast with Paul Chek, not dissimilar from the dialogue that he suggests we start to initiate with our soul.
So you're saying that me and Paul Chek are like this?
Yeah.
No, but actually, to honor you, I used your word. Like in the ceremony, I was like, I need the optimized version of myself, right? So I wasn't talking to the nodes that were there, like that got the squiggly line there, right?
Yeah.
Or that took this crooked direction, but still got there. I was like, who's the dude that went like this?
Yeah.
Who's that dude? I want to talk to that guy. And that dude was like, hello, Mehcad. You're finally ready.
So with this all, man, all of this work that you've done internally, you've mirrored that with a lot of fucking hard ass work, particularly on the music side. And it's something I mentioned when I was posting about that song, which is fucking amazing. Tears Away. Download it on Spotify. We'll try and maybe play a little sample here on this podcast.
Yeah, stream it. You don't have to download it.
Just, whatever. Yeah. I'm using old language.
Yeah, it's 2017.
No one downloads anything except for me. I still download shit.
Yeah, you can download it. That gives me more money. Yeah, download
Stream this shit. It's fucking amazing. We'll play you a sample. But what I've seen, it's not just like the passive thing. Like I think a lot of people who smoke too much weed can sit around and just imagine shit's going to happen. I had a homie who thought he was going to be a rock star, but he didn't do anything. Yeah, but he didn't do anything. And he was just kind of like waiting for rock star to happen. Rock star doesn't happen.
You can't do that.
No, you gotta meet that internal work with the external practice. Like you can't imagine I'm going to be Conor motherfucking McGregor and not do the work
and not punch somebody.
Yeah, and not be sparring, hitting rounds, and working on your craft. You're not going to be successful music unless you're doing the external work to mirror that. And I've watched you for fucking years, grinding with that until finally you released a song.
Yeah,
and man, it was worth it.
It's a good song.
It's a fucking great song.
Yeah, we got a ton more really, really great songs coming down the pipeline. And thank you, brother. Thank you for that, man. You've always been really supportive, even when it was not that good. Like you were super supportive. Really, like there was lulls where you're like, what the fuck is this? Like
I thought you came out of the gate hot. You came out of the gate really good. It was like raw. It was kind of like the beats kind of sucked, but it was fucking nasty and raw and dope.
And you could hear the raw talent.
Yeah.
And what I think what you drew you to it was you could hear the desire in the voice, right?
The hunger
and the desire in the voice. And I lost that for a while because once again, I was walking forward, holding up a mirror. And the problem with that is not only are you looking behind yourself, but you're looking at yourself, right? And no matter what, you're walking, right? So whenever you're looking at yourself, you're already in the past. You're already past that moment.
Yep.
So that self-reflexivity.
The present is going to wait for your ass.
It's bullshit.
It's always moving.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So it's like that self-reflexivity almost has to be, where am I going to be in the future? Like where do I want to be, right? What are my aspirations, and how do I bring that to the now? And a lot of that is just 10,000 hours. A lot of that is I think the hardest part for me was coming from knowing I had to do music to where I'm sitting right now, was the internal battle with myself, right? Was, are you good enough? Mm-hmm. Do you have what it takes? Are you going to work hard enough? Are you going to listen to everybody who says you suck? Are you going to be afraid because you spent $100,000 this month? And you really shouldn't have, and everybody sees the paycheck when you walk in the room. Are you gonna be? I had an engineer that stole my hard drive and was holding it hostage for $200,000, and I had to get that back. And like, I mean, it's a fucking dirty business. But there's also like, if you don't want normal shit, you can't have normal complaints, right? So there was this part of me that was like, I can't even tell you, man. Like there was a part of me that was beating myself up on a daily basis, like on a daily basis, like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, you have a great career, you make a ton of money on TV, you're fine. Like, what are you doing, right? Like, why are you wasting your time? Like, and like my ego would be like, come on, man, you tripping, bro. And then finally, with this internal work, I got to the place where it was really interesting. I got to this place where I said, I can't listen to the criticism, not even my own. Because all I'm doing is critiquing a moment in time. But this next step, there's no critique for that, right? So it didn't matter if I sounded good December 12th, 2013. Didn't matter if I sounded good March 11th, 2014. It's now end of 2017, and I'm fucking awesome. 2018 is going to be even better. Yeah. So it's almost like you don't know if you're capable of your dreams. Yes, we all know that. We all know, like, and most of us think that's a negative thing, but it's actually also a positive thing, because you don't know if you're capable of your dreams. It's up to you to take that negatively or positively. And so I started to take that positively. I started to go, well, I don't know. I don't fucking know if I'm capable of this. That's the answer. But the answer is to go get this vocal coach and keep pushing. The answer is to keep writing songs, even if everybody thinks they suck for 2 years. Fine. The answer is just to keep pushing, because I don't fucking know.
You know, and at the end of the day, you can't lose if you do that.
Nah, you can't.
Because even if it didn't end up working out, and you know that you turned over every leaf, you tried as
you didn't lose
fucking hard as you could, and you just went out on your shield and you're like, you know what? I've worked for 8 years. I can't sing. You know, like, but you know that in your bones. Like, if you really know that, like, all right, fuck it. That's cool. But if you didn't know that, if you're like, man, maybe I could have been a singer. Like, maybe I could have made music that shook the world. And you're carrying that all the way to the end. That's that shit that'll haunt you the rest of your life.
That's the loss. That's the loss. That's the actual loss.
The win is the process of going for your dreams. And that's what this whole course that I created, Go For Your Win, is about. It's about saying, all right, you got to figure out what your win is, and then you got to fucking go for it. And that is the win, because it's always evolving, it's always changing, and it's not outcome dependent.
Can I give you a small caveat in my book?
Mm-hmm.
You are the win. Because because I put this song out this year, and it's been met with so much love, and I'm so grateful for that, and so much support, and so much positivity, and I was nervous about that for a long time. But I was nervous about all these other things attached to it for a long time. But at a certain point in time, I didn't care, and it got to the point where I realized, on the road to trying to achieve your sorry, let me start that over. I'm so tired. I realized, on the road to trying to achieve your dreams, it's not about the dream anymore. It's about who you become. You become the type of person who can achieve anything. You become the win.
You were the win unfolding.
You become the win. And then you can just fucking achieve anything. You're just like, wait, I'm a manifester. Somewhere on this road you go, if I do enough shit, if I apply myself enough, if I don't listen to anybody else's advice, well, you can take advice. If I don't listen to anybody else's critique because it's not coming from a good place, if I don't even listen to my critique when it's not coming from a good place, then I become the type of person who can achieve anything. And that is the win. That's the actual win, not the achievement itself.
It is never outcome dependent. Yeah. It is all about you and the process that you go through. And then how do you set your sights on that? Because you don't know. Anybody who has these external goals, they're all ephemeral. You know, it's you think, I'm going to be happy when I get that car. Motherfucker, you're not going to be happy when you get that car. You might be happy when you become the type of person who is able to buy a car like that.
Right.
And if you put your goal as, I want to be the type of person that can buy any motherfucking car that I want,
then that's that win.
And you're in the process to doing that, you're going to be a happy dude. But if it's all about the external thing that you're really looking for, you know, when you get it, it'll be empty. It'll be just like you'll be on to the next thing and on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And your whole life you will have spent chasing. And then you'll be like that palliative care nurse, Bronnie Ware, that I talk about, whose number one deathbed regret for all of the patients that she worked with was, you know, I wish I would have let myself be happier. Wish I would have let myself be happier.
That's the win.
Because everybody was just so busy externalizing what would make them happy. They forgot that the process of evolving, the process of improving, the process of changing from 14-year-old Mehcad to 37-year-old Mehcad to 65-year-old Mehcad. That is the fucking win. The whole thing, the whole process. It's not about being happy when you're there. It's not about being happy when you're retired. It's not about waiting till you go to heaven because you earned it and this life sucks. It's like the whole thing is heaven. Right. If you take that idea, like, yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be all the things. And this is the video game. So let's motherfucking play.
And the one thing the video game always is, whether it's stressful, whether it's this, that, it's amusing.
It's amusing.
It's amusing. And that's what this shit is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fucking amusing.
It's like, engaging.
Yeah, yeah.
We can turn the game off, but most of us don't want to. Yeah, sometimes the game sucks so bad you do.
Yeah. And sometimes and you don't have to go into that, you don't have to bring your character into that building or take them to that level that fast. Like, it's up to you. So the funniest thing is like, my life is, if somebody else stepped into my shoes today, they would give those shoes right back. Because my life could be overwhelming to someone else. But I find it amusing. I find the humor in having to deal with all these situations. I find the humor and the amusement in being annoyed or frustrated or this and this and that, so on and so forth. Because I realize if I let this frustration go too far, I'm allowing you to take from my win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I allow this annoyance to go too far, you're taking from my win. And I'm not gonna let you do that. So I'm not gonna let myself do that.
Yeah.
So it becomes this thing, right?
I have a dialogue similar to you with your older self, with, that part of myself, my conscious self, my consciousness or eternal self, or whatever. And I'll have it, and it always has the best sense of humor when I'm talking to that.
It's amused.
It's so
right?
amused.
Yeah.
And it goes, I'll be in the middle of struggling with something. We go like, hey man, you having fun? And I go, shut the fuck up, man. Fuck you. And it just laughs, just like you did there. Like, oh, you having fun? Is that fun? You having fun?
Having a good time?
Yeah. Are you enjoying this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not. It just laughs.
And no matter how mature you feel, or like you built a lot in your life. I've built a lot in my life, and like you can juggle all these things. You could feel like an accomplished person. You can feel mature, but it's got nothing on your soul. And your soul's like, so those 95 years you had there, that was a great cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Was it amusing?
Yeah.
And that's all it cares about. Like, it's really, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, did you tabulate enough data? And was it amusing? Yeah. That's kind of it.
When I've gone to those spaces across the other side, it also gives me appreciation for this, because I think some of our conversation may almost trivialize some aspects of the game. And from that perspective, it is. But there's also this part of me that drives back to how fucking rad it is.
Yeah.
Like when you are in that place of bliss and peace and love and, you still don't have the experience of drinking a cup of coffee. Like you still don't have it tickling your taste buds. You still don't get to do the things that we get to do in our life. Like it's a different thing. And I could hypothesize being up there in that space and being like, man, it's nice up here. It's real nice. But looking around to the other soul brothers that are out there and like, hey, look at that planet over there. You want to take a run at that? And you're like, oh, fuck, it looks gnarly down there. There's all kinds of shit going on. They're going to elect a stupid ass president.
It's called Earth.
Yeah. But it's beautiful though. Did you see this? See all this beautiful shit? Super blue. There's fucking dope animals. The people are good. And sex is like at its peak on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Like
the next 15,000 years.
Yeah.
Or so.
It's like
till we figure out the seashell thing. Yeah.
It's like, do you want to take a run at it? And maybe one of us would be like, nah, man, I don't think I'm good. Come on, man. Let's take a run at Earth. Be like, yeah, fuck it.
All right, fine.
Here we go.
I'm gonna do like 15 cycles, and I'm gonna do Mars. I'll do Mars. I'm doing Mars next. I'm gonna do Mars.
I'm holding for Mars.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on for Mars.
Who knows if that's the case? But I could see that. I could see that being a reality.
Here's the thing I've learned. Everything exists, and if you can imagine it, Aubrey, it's happened, or it's happening. Like once again, I do really, truly believe that you or me or him or her, we cannot imagine anything beyond the universe. We cannot imagine any combination of events that could happen beyond the universe. So you're right. That happened. Good memory.
All right, my brother. What's next besides pointing people to download your songs? Anything else? You want people to be aware of?
What I really do want people to take a listen to Tears Away on Spotify, and if you follow me on social media, I really want to become the best artist that I can be, and I want to become a voice for our time. So just tell me what you think. You know, we live in a time in a place where you can engage with fans instantaneously. And I'll take your critique even if you go, you suck, bro. I'm like, cool. That just means you hate life and you're looking for something. or if you want to give me some real constructive criticism, I'm down. I'll listen. But man, there's so much to talk about right now. There's
so much.
The world's going crazy. I mean,
or waking up. And that can sometimes be a painful process.
Absolutely. We're actually waking up from a nightmare if you think about it. I think, I mean, the way that women have been treated for thousands of years, it's coming to a head. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing process. Mm-hmm. I realized, I think about 2 years ago, that I was way more sexist than I ever thought I was. I realized that. And I was like, fuck. And I wanted to apologize to the ring girl who was holding the card up, right? Because all the men are, yeah, you're just like, how does she feel? Like, that can't feel good, right? I wanted to apologize to the girl who couldn't join a sports team because they didn't have that team, you know. Or I wanted to apologize to the girl who feels like she can't be herself in a room full of men because she feels like she's gonna attract the wrong attention, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like 2 years ago, I was like, whoa. I think if you're a man and you haven't come to terms with the fact that you're a fucking sexist, you're lying to yourself. There's no way that you can't be sexist living in a Western society. No way. It's just, I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter.
You know, an interesting moment for me was at the end of the Stranger Things season 2. And sorry for the spoilers, but if you haven't watched it, it's your own fucking fault.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
I'm not going to.
Anyway, so
I mean, yes, I will.
At the end, 11 gets to be with her dude, and they're dancing
with the cop, the old cop. What is this? Some Roy Moore shit? What is this?
No, her boy Mike, and they're at this dance, and it's a beautiful moment, and they're kissing each other. They kiss each other, and I think to myself, like, man, that'd be scary as fuck to have 11 as your girlfriend, because she's obviously super powerful.
Yeah. She can read your mind.
Yeah. But then I realized it's
like her having the passcode to your phone all the time. It's fucked up. It's crazy.
Yeah, that part. But just her like physical power, like she could fuck you up at any point in time. Yeah. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, that's just like being a girl. It's just like being a girl. Like you're with somebody who could fuck you up at any time.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I just realized, like,
wow,
damn, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a whole different.
Wait, let's take a moment on that. Bro, you blew my mind just now. Half the world's going through that.
Yeah.
Well, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It's weird. And I was like,
wow.
Whoa. I mean, because Whitney's a badass. She can fight. But there's never a thought in my mind like, oh yeah, she could fuck me up.
Yeah.
You know,
she'd have to do it in your sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, really. Like, that's the only way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not scared of my girl physically.
I mean, and there's obviously girls that could kick my ass now, but I'm not with them. So it's not like, it's not a usual thing that someone says, you know, like I'm sure fucking Christiane Cyborg or Rhonda could probably kick my ass, but I'm not with them. So I don't have to, I've never postulated that moment of physical helplessness with the person I'm with. And that is categorically what all women have to deal with.
And to expand on that, that works sociologically as well. And it works with ideology because like
it's a trump card.
Yeah, we've had this system where not only does our physical prowess put them in a potentially threatening position just being in a relationship, right? But also we've made sure that they don't make as much money as us, and we've belittled their sexuality, and we've subjugated them for wanting to explore that sexuality, and so we've done all these things
and encouraged that the only real value is their youth.
Well, right? Their youth and their piousness, right?
And
their piety.
And then the attraction to, I mean, there's biological cues, but I also think it's like the attraction to high heels are also hilarious because
think it's disgusting.
that makes them even more vulnerable, right? It's like,
Right.
let's hobble your feet so that in case you wanted to run away, we wouldn't even have to break a sweat.
like I just have to do this.
Yeah.
Like, or just kick out one of the toothpicks under your canoe.
It's literally like hobbling a horse, like where you tie like, I don't know exactly what hobbling is, but I think it's like you tie two hooves
It
together.
doesn't sound good.
No, yeah, and it's like, oh, now the horse can't run away.
It sounds like something Donald Trump must do to black people. But I'm sorry, I had to go there at a certain point. But when you I'm glad we're having this conversation because of everything happening in our society today. That we need men to think about it this way. I'm sorry, I'm not saying that we're examples, but fuck it, we are, because of the fact that we can have this conversation. If you can have, I've brought this kind of stuff up to some of my guy friends in LA, and it's like, it's the way it is. I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is because that's how it's been. That's once again society walking lock and step, holding up the biggest fucking mirror you can think of, looking behind us, still dealing with our grandparents' problems. Fucking break the mirror, put the shit down, put it down.
Yeah.
And we, I don't know. It's just like, I would never put on some high heels because of how painful that shit looks. You know what I'm saying?
And how vulnerable you'd feel.
And how vulnerable you feel.
I sometimes, if I'm going to a place where I know that I might get in a scuffle, I'll check the bottoms of my shoes.
Right.
I'll check. I'll make sure, like, well, I
Right.
would wear my boots, but they're a little bit slippery.
Right.
If I got to throw that right cross hard, I might slip out.
Right, exactly.
You know, and
Right.
if I'm fucking have to shoot a double leg or something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but so that inherent vulnerability is an interesting fact that we all, even me, in another predatory environment, but girls have to deal with that shit all the time. But I think also it's not only our, girls disadvantaged, we've disadvantaged everybody.
Yeah,
and it's not to level the playing field doesn't mean we need to diminish men. And I think that's something that a lot of people have done. Like, well, let's diminish the wealthy people, let's diminish the white people, let's diminish the men, let's diminish everybody to level it. No. It's about bringing everybody up.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you have to put caps on the people that currently exist. It just means, no, we're bringing everybody else to the level of full optimization, full actualization. That doesn't mean you have to play that ego game of dropping somebody else so that it's even. You don't want to drop anything. Raise everything.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like it's so strange to me that somebody feels threatened that their quality of life, they will lessen their quality of life if they pay a woman an equal wage. You're like, are you what? Or that, like, I mean, look, Hollywood's fucked up. I mean, I've been saying it for years. People have never believed me, and it is the. How dirty do you get on this podcast?
All the way dirty.
Okay, it is the chlamydia-ridden dickhole of the United States of America. It's fucking disgusting. It is the worst place. In some ways, it is the worst place that I've ever visited, much less lived.
Because people who are broken and traumatized will inherently seek positions of power. And the ways to find power are in Hollywood, in politics,
Wall
and
Street,
in vast wealth discrepancy fields.
Right. And what they'll do is they'll find other people who are traumatized and broken and traumatize and break them further.
Yeah.
And they normally prey on young people. And it's a really, really tough thing to watch, you know. There's people that I've lost respect for instantaneously after meeting them because of how they treat women or how they treat a waiter or how they treat an Uber driver or a chauffeur or a publicist or whoever. I'm just thinking to myself, you do realize if you do 2 more movies like that last one, people are going to start treating you like that, basically. Or if your last album continues to move this way, you know.
It's people who've lost touch with that base metaphysical truth, the one metaphysical truth that everybody is you living a different life. You cannot possibly perpetrate some kind of advantage for yourself over someone else without being in that other person's shoes and feeling the same perpetration upon yourself. Like, you can't hurt someone and not feel the pain. Like, that's the fundamental truth of the fact that we are all the universe, and you can't hurt the universe and not feel it as the universe.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. The funny thing is that they don't equate the pain that they're inflicting on somebody else as the pain that's coming back to them. They just think it's something else, right? And that's why, look, I hope my music blows up and I'm the biggest fucking thing in the world in 2-3 years. I really do, like, because I know what to do with it.
You're doing the internal work,
right?
To keep that ego from taking over complete control and stuffing that soul self down into its fucking pocket until it can't even hear its whisper.
Absolutely, and I think one of the problems is that we put too much emphasis on youth, and we give power and money and access to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds, and you're like, that's the wrong thing to do. Like,
especially without any structured ritual to help keep them in line. Like, if all of society was like, okay, yeah, instead of your bar mitzvah at 13 or whatever in that culture, which is now a vapid, empty dance party, instead of it was like, well, now it's your 13-year-old ayahuasca, it's your 16-year-old iboga quinceañera, good luck. Like, it's your 21-year-old rite of passage, hike through the Andes and drink wachuma at the end of the Inca Trail. Like, those are the things that we need.
My kids
to
are
keep
going to
us
your
in
summer
line.
camp.
Yeah, totally. Like, if we had that, then people could maybe hold that type of power. But without the things to keep that power in check and to elevate that sense of love, to elevate that sense of soul, you're going to end up with some weird shit. And that's the world that we're in now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't even understand the masturbation in front of people. That's just weird to me. That's just like, all the serious shit aside, who does that? Who does that? How do you even get pleasure from that? Does that work? Do you go into a room and go, time to jack off? And then there's somebody who goes, ooh, that looks like fun. Let me join you. No, I don't know if that's ever happened. Listen, I've done well in my life, and never has that been a move like that has worked. What are you talking about?
It's weird, right? It's just I think you just trickle into it. See, what can I get away with? What can I subject this person
Let me
to?
sit on this bottle and see if there's any takers in the room. What's going on here?
Well, the truth is coming out now. The truth is coming out.
Honestly, having lived in Hollywood for a long time, I can tell you, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Good.
And no, it's good.
Fresh air and sunlight.
I am ecstatic. Listen, you go into a room and you meet with studio executives, and you see there might be 30 executives in a room for a screen test. 5 women, and 3 of them work for somebody else in that room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 1 minority, 2 minorities type thing. Maybe 3, 4, depending on the studio. And you go, there's a power structure that has to shift, because that doesn't look like anything else in the world. Yeah. If I walk outside and into any other room, there's not 82% men. That's not a room I want to be in, frankly, like in any other circumstance. But it's like, if all you guys are making decisions and there's 40 people in that room and there's only 5 women, that has to change. And that's why there's so much sexual dysfunction and assault at this point. I mean, Jesus, It's common.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to a future where we don't. Right now, we have to focus on the inequalities because we're recovering from this trauma. But I look forward to this world where, as we were talking, like, you don't identify with your skin color, your race, your sex.
I already don't.
And it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a soul. Oh, here's my body.
Yeah.
Like, sweet. Like, it's just like you would if you're talking to somebody in a car. Right. Oh, nice ride. You're like, oh, thanks. I've been working on this ride.
Yeah.
It's dope. But you know that you're not talking to the ride.
Yeah,
it's just like
talking to the driver.
You're talking to the driver.
Yeah.
And that's
great car you got.
Yeah, great car. Nice car.
Yeah. and that's kind of how I'm already you're already there. Yeah. I'm already there. I think there's millions of people who are already there and ready to be there. And I'm gonna be happy when we get there. Like I got this thing I want to start definitely in this lifetime, because it's appropriate. about being beyond black, right? Not identifying with that adjective about my race, right? So the word black has been around a lot longer than it's been applied to people, right? It meant dark, it meant sullen, it meant melancholy, it meant plague, death, all these things, all these negative things. And all of a sudden, it had to be applied to a people that the West Indian Trading Company had to make young sailors feel not so bad about kidnapping people, right? So you called them black. And what that meant back then was plague-ridden or evil or dark or this, all these different things, right? They used to call them Moors, or they used to identify people from where they're from. But that became something that has carried on. Like you can't change the meaning of a word just because you're reestablishing it and using it as a moniker for somebody else, right? So it's almost like we have to redefine how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about others. And whenever somebody brings up that I'm black, I go, no, I'm not. And then they get really super confused. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. My shirt's black. I'm actually like I mean, when we're talking about colors and shit, kinda,
I don't know.
Like,
I don't have that 124 crayon box.
Yeah,
I got
like,
it.
Yeah, like it's like 3 or 4 colors put together like to make this shit. This is beautiful. So it's I don't know. Like I mean I've brought this up to some people and it's not quite formulated yet, but we have to get beyond this determination, and it comes with this preconceived notion that I never agreed to. I never agreed to what black means to you. I don't know what it means to you. I never agreed to it. And by the time I got here, I'm stuck into a system that I'm supposed to adhere to because this infiltrated society before me came up with it. I'm good. So I'm really good. So it's almost like my ancestors fought not to be black.
I think we're all fighting not to be what we were born as.
Well, look, I'm just
what
be real.
We truly are.
Like, yes, and that's a very spiritual, wonderful way to put it. And you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that's a very elevated, awoken way to put it. But the reality is, they fought not to be black. Mm-hmm. They actually fought like, I don't want to be. If you think this is what black is, then I don't want to be that. We're gonna fight not to be this, because this is what you think it is. Okay, cool, done. I don't want to be that anymore. And so like to carry on the work of your own ancestors, I think is one of the most beautiful processes you can do. And to do that, it is to bring people into the fold of your understanding and your comprehension. That I don't understand why you see somebody's skin color as a determination of their worth, right? So I just have to stop using the words that you use. And
I think all the words need to be cleaned. That's one of the things as I look at. I think that's really our job, is to clean these words off of all of the bullshit that they mean. Love needs to be cleaned.
Oh my God.
God needs to be cleaned. Soul needs to be cleaned. Black needs to be cleaned. Self needs to be cleaned. All of these words,
white,
everything needs to be cleaned off. So we really actually understand what the fuck we're talking about.
I just think we need to stop using them. Like, I mean, like
new words.
I mean, use God. That's fine. That means something different to everybody. Love needs to be cleaned.
Yeah, we're not gonna get rid of that.
Scrub down. That needs a scrub down. But like black, white, Latino, like this, just stop.
Yeah, ditch some, clean the others.
Yeah, ditch the ones that give you a visceral response, and the other ones you go like, that's a little too general. And we need to hone that one in.
Well, my fellow word cleaning warrior poet philosopher brother, this has been awesome, man. One of the longest podcasts I've thrown down. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, always, brother. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Man.
Great to have you out. And download that motherfucking song. It's so good. Tears Away on. I'm so fucked up. I still download songs.
Aubrey thinks it's 2007.
I just got my Spotify premium like 2 weeks ago. I'm fucked up. Stream the song Tears Away.
Yeah, it's a great
Spotify.
song. It's a great song.
Thanks, everybody. Much love. Peace.